Hey, welcome to Creativity in Focus, a live video podcast where every week we highlight an artist and its art. And today, no different than that, we have a very special guest. And before we start, a few housekeeping items. First of all, if you're watching us live, there's a very good reason behind that. We love your interaction. The artist and me, we love when you ask questions, comment, talk about challenges, about the art itself. So you basically have one way of doing that is either by the comment box if you're watching on social media or on the chat box if you're watching on creativityinfocus.com. That's the best place for you to do that. The other thing is do share this video. It's very important for us. You know, in the very first minutes of a video is when any social platform will decide if they should show to more people or not. So the sooner you share, the better it is. But leaving comments, emojis, anything on the video also helps with that. Now, this is a podcast, which means it's content only. Nobody's going to try to sell anything. So it's totally safe for you to share in groups that you belong, right? Because you're just spreading the word about this artist. And because it's a podcast, wherever you're watching, it stays right there. So you can tell your friends even to come and watch it later because it doesn't go away. Okay, it's a great way to tell them about needle felting. My guest today is Kiyoshi Mino, a needle felter. Welcome, Kiyoshi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Tahar. How are you?
It's really good to have you here. You know, we are going to
Glad to be
show
here.
some of your work, but before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I am a needle felt artist. I started about 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago now, kind of by accident. I discovered it because my wife and I went to a school, sort of a training program for farmers. And at the school, we learned how to raise sheep. So
Oh,
we learned how to shear sheep, how to process wool, and then various things that you can do to the wool to add value, like spinning um, and felting. And so we actually had a sort of afternoon class on needle felting, and that was the first time I was introduced to it.
uh-huh.
And um, I just, for some reason, I just fell in love with it right away. I think I'd never really done much art before, so I never tried sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I used to really like to draw as a kid, but this was actually my first time doing any kind of sculpture.
Oh,
So I
cool.
think it was exciting for me to. It felt like like drawing in 3 dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that was kind of exciting for me. And then I think also it was a really good fit because I've always really liked animals, and of course needle felting is perfect for making any kind of animal because it's basically fur. Um,
That's amazing. And so do you
so
raise sheep?
so yeah, we were farmers for 6 years actually. After we finished this year-long program, we started our own little farm in central Illinois.
Okay.
Um, but we actually just had to stop that about just about a year ago. Um, so unfortunately, we're not doing it anymore. We just weren't able to make enough money to live on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we enjoyed it. We both really love animals, so it was basically our excuse to take care of a bunch of animals. We we made a little bit of money doing it, but not nearly enough to make a living off of.
Uh-huh. What breed of sheep did you have?
We had mostly Icelandic sheep.
Oh, beautiful. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
they're really beautiful.
Uh-huh, they are. Let me show some of your work so people really can get familiar with what you do.
Oh, okay. And
Okay.
I have, some behind me too.
Yes, I
I
want to
can
see
hold up if
those
you
as
want to see.
well. And when I show
Okay,
you the picture, talk to me a little bit about the process and what inspired you when doing that, okay? Can you see the
sure.
picture?
Yep.
Okay. So what type
So
of owl is that one?
so that is called a saw-whet owl. Um, and I think is named that because of the call its call sounded to somebody, whoever named it, sounded like a saw sharpener or something.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's actually, I think it might be the smallest owl in North America. Um, they're actually very cute. They're only about 7 inches long. You can just kind of hold them in the palm of your hand. Um, uh, I've actually seen one at our old farm in
Oh,
central
really?
Illinois, which is exciting. Yeah, I've heard they're pretty rare, but
I have
they
some pictures I
um,
took of a saw-whet.
oh, cool. So
Yeah,
you've seen one in the wild too.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, they're really cute. Um, and I made this for as a sort of a model for a class. People
Got
wanted
it.
me to teach
Uh-huh.
a class on owls, and I picked this because, well, I like them. I've seen them on my farm, and then um, they're they're very small, so
Uh-huh.
it's a little easier for a 3-day class,
For a
instead of like
person to do
a
it.
great
Yeah,
horned owl or something.
I
But,
see. Let's see the next one. What type of bird is
so
that?
that so that's called a Vermilion Fly Catcher, um, and these are sort of native to. I'm not sure if you can see them around where I am. I've never seen one, but um, they are native to sort of the western part of the United States, at least.
That's nice.
And I chose this because they're relatively common in Texas, and I was teaching a class at Living Felt in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also they're just very striking.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And the next
Yeah.
one?
So this is an Indigo Bunting. And this also was for that class down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen these in Illinois. Um, and these are also just really beautiful birds.
That's very pretty. We have a few comments here, Kiyoshi. Maria Folsom is saying, I'm just starting needle felting. Is that anything that you
Oh,
learn
great.
along the way that helped with the sculpting aspects?
Um, so just just actually, making the shape that is challenging. For me, um, what helps me is just to find as many photographs of the subject as you can from all different angles, because ideally you'd want to have the actual model of what you're making in front of you, but uh, so far I've never been able to have that luxury. Um, so I mean, the next best thing is just to find as many reference photos as you can. Um, Sometimes I'll use like anatomical diagrams, like if it's a piece that uh, where the animal has pretty pronounced musculature or short fur, um, then you'll need to find some kind of photographs or diagrams that show their muscles in an easily visible way. Um, but yeah, the other thing is, like, specifically for needle felting, you always want to make sure that you've felt everything extremely firmly. Um, so as I'm sculpting, um, I try to not do a lot of the detailed sculpting at first, just do sort of the general shape uh, until I get it pretty firm, um, and then start adding the details,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise I've learned from experience that if you kind of make this beautiful sculpture at first, um, but you know in the early stages it's kind of soft, or you don't add enough wool, then you're just going to need to keep sculpting it over and over again. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to add more wool and then like completely redo it. So yeah, specifically for needle felting, make sure you get the the surface and the object itself fairly firm, and you add enough wool first before you start doing the detailed sculpting.
So you start with a basic shape of that animal, and then as it gets less and less soft, you start adding details. Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And maybe, not just, you don't have to get the whole animal, but, whatever specific part you're working on at that time, before you start going into the real little details, make sure that you get it firm first.
Okay. Can we see the cat behind you?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So this, do you want me to maybe move him closer?
Oh, sure, if you can.
Closer?
Well, we can see, well, how big is this guy?
So this is a life-size Andean mountain cat.
Wow.
And these are native to South America, in a very, just this very small pocket, sort of between Chile, Peru, Argentina. They only live in, the very, upper parts of the Andes range.
So cold temperatures.
Yeah, so they're very fluffy, as you can see. And they're, about the size of a bobcat or something, a little bit bigger than a house cat. But yeah, they're kind of like a smaller version of a snow leopard, basically. Okay. They live in similar ways.
That's very cool. Do you work with armatures?
Yes. Okay. When I first started out, actually, I'm totally self-taught. So I was just, figuring things out by trial and error. And so when I first started out, I was always trying to make everything, completely out of wool, doing nothing but needle felting. And, so I'd make just really legs as firm as I possibly could so that they'd stand. And I found that, well, even the pieces that I was able to do just like that, they eventually over time the I guess the wool or the felt kind of softens. So I'd get complaints by, I made a lot of things for relatives, like, my mom or my aunt or something like that. And they'd complain to me that, oh, the legs have like sagged and they don't support the weight of the animal anymore. So it doesn't work really well because over time I guess the felt sort of softens. So after that I started doing figuring out how to do armature, and I did that for every piece after that.
You started using that.
Or so.
That's cool. Maria Folsom is saying the base shape really firm. Is that what you said? That explains some problems I had with some of mine.
Yeah. So that will help you a lot, because not only is it important for making it sort of easier to sculpt and saving you work, so you don't have to repeat things, but also it's very important if you are making things sort of the way I do it. I use undyed sort of core wool in the center. That's a little bit coarser wool usually, and that allows it to felt a little more firmly than, say, a finer wool. And also, usually if you just buy this sort of undyed wool, undyed coarser wool, it's a lot cheaper than, say, if you tried to sculpt with merino or something, some nice wool.
Especially when you're dealing with bigger animals like the cat, right?
Yeah. You want to use a wool that's relatively inexpensive for something that big. But yeah, if so, I'll make that inner sculpt with the core wool, and then on the outside, I'll use completely different kind of wool, like merino usually,
Mm.
because it's finer and it makes nice looking fur. Um, so if you don't sculpt the inner part very firmly, um, then as you're adding the outer layers, the outer details, and um, the fur, or even if you're just coloring it with different kinds of wool on the outside, you're going to deform what you already sculpted.
Hmm.
Um, as you're adding those outer layers, kind of make big dents or whatever in the sculpture that you just made.
That's cool. Now, in this cat that you have behind you, does it have short fur? Can I see the length of the fur at all, or is it
Um,
long? I cannot see from here. The
right, right. I'll try. Let's see.
oh, look at this guy.
Uh, so here.
And you use merino with this one as well.
Yeah, the outside is all merino.
And the eyes, do you sculpt the eyes or are they glass?
The eyes are wool too.
Okay. It's a gorgeous piece. Kiyoshi,
Oh, thank
is
you.
needle felting your main activity today?
Yeah, so as I was saying, my wife and I had the farm until about a year ago, uh, and then we just moved about 3 hours away from where we were
Okay.
last year, and since then, since I don't have animals to take care of or a farm to worry about, I've been dedicating myself to my art full time now. So yeah, I'm a full-time needle felt artist now. But that includes this year I've been lucky enough to have a lot of teaching opportunities also, which is something I couldn't do when I was a farmer. I
Yeah.
couldn't leave the farm.
Uh-huh.
So now this past year I've been doing a lot of teaching.
So you
So
teach
teaching
and you
and
also sell your pieces, correct?
right.
Nice. Okay, that's very cool. Now, I want to show a few more pictures of your work. We have another bird here. Let's take a look.
Okay.
I'm impressed with the wings. I made some birds,
Oh, thank you.
but never got that close to the wings. That's very cool.
Oh, thank you.
So this is a sparrow?
So yeah, this is a Eurasian tree sparrow, um, and there's a little bit of a story behind this piece too, because um, my grandmother, who is 95 this year actually,
Wow.
she's originally from China, and she lived for a while in Taiwan, and while she was there, she's very artistic. I think maybe I get probably my artistic abilities from her. Um, she did for a long time. She did traditional Chinese painting.
Wow.
Um, and while she was in Taiwan, she had this instructor who was quite a famous Chinese painter, and he whenever he approved of his students' work, which wasn't that often apparently, like say like a landscape or a bamboo grove or something, he would paint these little tree sparrows on his students' paintings, like as a sort of sign of approval. So she has at least a couple of these paintings with these tree
Oh.
sparrows that her teacher
Uh-huh.
had done. So I made this bird for her.
Oh, that's
Sort
cool.
of,
That's cool.
yeah.
So I thought Kiyoshi was actually a Japanese name.
Yeah, so my father is Japanese,
Okay.
and my mother is Chinese American.
Oh, cool. That's very cool.
So her parents are from China. Yeah.
You have good food from both places, right? Both cultures have very yummy food.
That's true. Yeah. I like both, definitely. Yeah.
You know, I studied Chinese for 3 years, and
Wow.
I think I can say 5 words. But I wouldn't starve
there. You haven't used it in a while.
Yeah, no, I was very young. I had a boyfriend that was from Taiwan, so I decided to learn.
Oh, cool.
But it's not an easy language. Let's see one more of your pieces. See?
Yeah, I studied Chinese in college for a year, and yeah, my Chinese used to be a lot better than it is now. I'll just say that.
You know, it was actually a fantastic experience. I learned to speak a little bit and to write a little bit. And I would go to this instructor to his house, and he would put the tea beside me, but he had the leaves there. And I'm from Brazil, and we usually don't drink tea that way, so I would never touch it. So one day I got there, and he said, "My wife is very mad at you." And I was, "Well, but what did I do?" And he said, "You don't like her tea." And I said, "Well, I just don't know how to drink it because it has the leaves." So he taught me how to do, and today that's how I drink tea all the time with the leaves there. Yeah, funny. Let's see. This is I think it's an elk.
Oh, so this is it's a red deer. It does look similar to the elks that we have here, but this is a deer that's native to Europe and Asia. I chose this species because I was teaching. I used it as a model for a class that I taught in Amsterdam.
Oh, cool!
Or just outside of Amsterdam, at Atelier Fiber Fusing this past summer.
Wow, cool.
And
how big is this piece?
I kind of. So I have it here actually.
Oh, really? Oh, I want to see.
I can show you this guy too if you want.
Oh, there it is. Nice.
I don't know if you
not very big. Very cool. That's awesome. That's an awesome. I have a few comments.
It's pretty little.
It's pretty little, yes. Sharon Cole, details on the birds are breathtaking. And Maria, the chimpanzee you shared the video of was the first time I've ever seen needle felt on that scale. Thank you for your inspiration and sharing. Actually, Kiyoshi, this video, it became a viral video, correct? Oh, I think we lost him for a second. So let's just wait to see if he comes back. And while we wait for that, Camille is saying, greetings from Chile. Please come again. Well, guys, we are waiting for him to come back. He probably, when he moved the phone, the connection fell. So we'll wait a little bit for him. But I have to tell you that he's actually coming to Curious Mondo to teach a class. He's going to teach a wildlife cat. So it's next year, and I'll give you the dates in a second. It just escaped me, but he'll be here. Oh, there you are. The phone. So I had 2 comments for you. We have Camille Opaca from Chile saying, hi, great inspiration. Sharon Cohn is saying, details on the birds are breathtaking. And Maria Folson is saying, the chimpanzee you shared the video of was the first time I've ever seen needle felt on that scale. Thank you for inspiration and for sharing. That video actually became viral,
thank you so
correct?
Much. I guess you could say that. It was featured on a couple websites like Lad Bible, which is a British website, and Daily Mail.
Wow, cool.
The UK, and yeah, it did get a bunch of views. So
that was the first time I saw your work as well, and I was really impressed because You were working on the floor, and it's a real size chimpanzee,
Yeah,
right?
that was our old little farmhouse.
Okay.
So I didn't have a table that was big enough for for a life-size chimpanzee. So my only option was to work on the floor.
What happened to
But
that
yeah,
chimpanzee?
so I wish I knew actually. I made it for a gallery exhibit in New York City, um, and it sold during the exhibit.
Oh, very
It
cool.
was on exhibit for about 6 months,
Uh-huh.
um, and it did sell. But the gallery wouldn't tell me who bought it.
Okay.
Um, so I think the whoever bought it must have been very private or asked
Uh-huh.
to remain anonymous or something. Um, all they would tell me is that it was somebody who had a important private art collection on
Oh.
the West Coast somewhere.
Oh, that's very cool.
So
Can
yeah,
you
that's all
disclose
I knew.
more or less how much it was sold for? Or an idea?
Yeah, it was it sold for 12,000.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but because I don't know if you know how most galleries work, but they always take usually a 50% commission.
Mm-hmm.
So I only saw half of that, but
It's still
um,
pretty good.
yeah. But it was needle felting. It takes a lot of time, so that was 3 months of work. So it was
Yeah,
not bad. It was more than I usually make for a piece,
for a piece, yeah.
um, but
Jeannie
yeah, it was a
Hanley is
lot of work.
saying, awesome work. Cheryl Erickson, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I cannot wait for the class. Guest 592 is asking, how do you decide how to price your items?
Um, so yeah, like I said, needle felting takes longer than most art mediums. So you have to. It's very important if you want to do this, you know, for at least for a living or at least part of your living, to make sure that you're paid enough for your labor, um, and it'll take time. Like I've been making a little bit more for my pieces, like um, every year,
Mm-hmm.
but um, you know, even you want to make sure that you're making like you know a certain amount per hour of work that you put in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then it's not like below minimum wage or a livable wage.
And
So
sorry, I think it's important to highlight that you're sculpting with wool because it's very easy for people to think, oh, it's just wool and it just costs this much per ounce and try to base on that, right?
yeah, no. So if I just base it off that, my pieces would be like $20 or something. Because
Mm-hmm.
the materials are a tiny fraction of uh, you know the um, the value. Just it's all labor.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really they don't weigh very much. It's really not that much wool in each piece.
Mm-hmm.
Even the chimpanzee was maybe like 25 pounds or something. Um, so yeah, you have to think in terms of how many hours you're putting in. Try to keep track or at least estimate, and then make sure that you're charging enough that you're making a reasonable amount per hour.
Okay. And how do you sell your work today? So galleries is one option, right?
So yeah, it's pretty uncommon actually. I've only been in a couple exhibits. There's another two that are happening just by coincidence, like right now, and both of them in Boston. Um, but so that these two starting this month are and well, I guess next month are make four total exhibits for me actually.
Mm-hmm.
So most of what I do as far as selling my pieces is just by commission. So people will, have just contacted me and asked for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I used to sell things on Etsy pretty often, but um, I I never really with the commissions and the specific requests that people give to me. I'm always trying to just keep up with that or catch up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really have like um, extra pieces that are lying around to
Mm-hmm.
sell.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I have here are the ones that I've made for specific workshops, and actually all the little ones that you see on the shelf here are going to um, the the gallery in Boston. I actually need to send those right away.
Oh, really?
And then the Andean cat. There's actually a little story behind that. The pretty much the first workshops that I ever did were in Chile, um, just over a year ago, um, and I while I was um, down there in Santiago, I met some scientists that were researching some of the animals that you know, that I made for these classes. Like I made a puma because those are native to
Mm-hmm.
the area, and the Darwin's frog because that's native to Chile as well. But there was an expert on um, cats who I met, and he studied pumas, but he was actually an expert on the Andean mountain cat, and he worked for this organization that's working to conserve them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually the most endangered cat species in um, all of the Western Hemisphere,
The puma?
North and South America. The Andean mountain cat, the
Oh,
you
this
know
one. Okay.
this guy, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so I met him while I was down there, and he asked me if I could um, make a sort of a mascot for the organization, um, and so that's what he's for.
Oh,
So in
cool.
April I'm gonna well sometime between now and April I'm gonna ship it off to them, and they're going to sort of present him at this international conference in San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco.
That's very cool. That is very cool.
So
I have a
he's
few
going to
more
be
comments
living in
here.
my house for a while.
What?
So he's going to be living in my house for a while
Oh, really?
until I send him off.
I
Yeah.
do
But
say.
usually, yeah. But usually, my point was that don't I don't usually have pieces that just sitting
Laying
around.
around. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Usually, I'll make something and then immediately have to ship it off to somebody.
Well, but that's what we want, right?
Yeah. No, it's a good thing.
Sandy Ward is asking, amazing pieces. How do you sign your work?
That's a lot of people have asked me that because I don't really have a way so far that I sign my work. So
Okay.
I've yet to, um, but yeah, I have thought about that.
Okay. You have
And
to figure a
you
way.
know, yeah, yeah. But I just don't want to like ruin. I'm always trying to make it as authentic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to like ruin it in any way by writing on it.
Maria
But
Fossen is saying that she will take a class being taught later this year. Very excited to learn more from you. Guest
oh,
582,
great.
how do you determine what your next sculpture will be?
Um, so it's like I said, usually somebody will ask me for a specific thing. Um, but if I, on the rare occasion that I do have sort of freedom to choose, um, I always want to try something different from what I've done before. Um, I like to kind of challenge myself and sort of learn new things with each piece. Um, and Um, I'm, I sort of prioritize the more like endangered species.
Mm.
Um, because however much I can, I want to sort of raise awareness of conservation issues and um, sort
So
of
when you have the choice, you go more after endangered species to create awareness
right,
about those animals, right?
right.
That's interesting, Kiyoshi, because I know you had a farm, so you were in contact with animals all day long.
Hmm.
But most people today, they don't have a lot of contact with animals, especially, of course, wildlife. Uh, and that
Right,
causes an issue because they stop caring. Out from
right.
sight,
It's
out
like
from mind.
out of sight, out of mind. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an important work that you're doing there. Now, you mentioned
Thank you.
when we were talking about the signing that you want to be as truthful to the real animal as possible. And even when you mention birds, for example, you know the exact name. And how much do you study them before you go into the sculpting part?
Well, I mean, I, I study I study them a little bit as far as academically, not too much.
Hmm.
But like I said, I'm interested in their conservation status, definitely. Um, and uh, but and a little bit about how they live. But the main thing is I do spend a lot of time, um, studying them visually, and trying to find as many reference photos as I can before I start working. Mostly just Google image, uh, just try to find hundreds of pictures from all different angles, and then sort of download those, and then I sort of constantly have them up on my computer screen as I'm working, and just sort of switch photos and look at different angles as I go.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you do learn a lot from about each animal as you're working on it, on things that you never noticed before, like little details and things.
Well, I noticed on the video for the chimpanzee, you do pay a lot of attention to the muscles as well, right?
Well, especially on pieces that are um, well on animals that have sort of shorter fur where you can see um, the sort of their muscular definition. But then you know like for this guy, I didn't really have to worry about that too much. But
Okay.
um, but like for the chimpanzee, for my tiger, um, yeah, I had to spend a lot of time um, sculpting the muscular first before I could start putting on the
On
fur.
the fur.
Um,
Cool.
and yeah, for the chimpanzee, I actually found that their muscles are actually something I didn't really realize, but their muscles are almost exactly like ours.
Oh,
The
really?
way the way that their muscles are laid out and everything. Um, they're just their legs are shorter than ours, um, relative to their body, but all the muscles are there. They're all the same. So I could actually just look um, at like artists, like anatomy books for that show human musculature as reference. But then I also found one thing that was useful is that for some reason there's a bunch of pictures out there of like sort of bald chimps,
Oh,
um, like chimps that have almost no hair. So I was able to like Google bald chimpanzees and find a bunch of pictures
oh.
of their musculature
Uh-huh.
of their of their musculature that way.
That's
Um,
funny. That's
but
very cool. Let me show you one more piece that we have here. One of my favorite birds, the kingfisher.
oh, great, yeah. So
There
this
you go.
is it's called a common kingfisher, and it's native to Europe and Asia. Because again, this was for my class in the Netherlands this summer.
Oh, cool.
I always try to, pick species that are native to the areas where, where I'm doing the workshops. Um, but yeah, so this, we have kingfishers here in the U.S., but that's the belted kingfisher.
Okay.
Um, this is the common kingfisher, and
So
slightly
the
different
chest that you have
coloration.
there, is that also the merino?
Yeah, it's all merino on the outside, um, except for the beak, because I needed that to be firmly sculpted. So that's actually, um, well, I got it at Living Felt. They have this wool called like MC1, which is like a hybrid with a merino sheep and some other sheep with coarser wool. Um, and so it's a slightly coarser wool for sculpting, and then the yeah, everything else is merino.
So the beak is the MC1, is also wool.
Yep.
Oh, cool. I thought it was
Yeah, I
polymer
guess
clay
I'm
for
kind of
some
a.
reason.
Oh no. Here, I actually have him right here. One second.
This is a big guy. Okay.
So
Wow, that's impressive.
let's see. But yeah, it's just wool.
And you have a little bit of wire there?
Yeah, there's a little bit of wire that
Okay.
comes at least part way
That's
inside.
amazing.
But yeah, I guess I'm kind of a purist,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Don't like to...
I like needle felting, and so I try. I guess I like the challenge of trying to do everything in that one material.
Agree.
Sort of,
Sandy, we're
perfect.
just saying, amazing colors. Do you ever dye any of the fiber yourself?
No, I've never actually dyed my own colors. There's always, luckily, there's all these sort of online or brick and mortar shops that sell wool and so this huge variety of colors. Um, so that's never been an issue for me. Like at the farm school, it was in Massachusetts, and it was maybe just half an hour drive away from this amazing shop called New England Felting Supply that sadly just when they just closed.
Oh.
But while I was there, I think it was part of the reason that I got into it was because I had this amazing business right there, where every other weekend, my wife and I would drive down there. My wife she doesn't like to needle felt, but she likes to spin and knit and things
Oh,
like that.
really?
So it was great that once I got into needle felting, all of a sudden I was able to sort of enjoy, share this enjoyment of like
Fibers.
knitting stores, yeah, yarn stores and things like that, which I'd never enjoyed before. But yeah, this store is actually specifically for felt artists and spinners, I guess. But they have they had this wide variety of colors of wool. And now I get pretty much any color I need at Living Felt, but it's a similar sort of business.
Yeah.
And any color that I don't have, it's actually fairly easy to mix the colors just like paint. You can make any color imaginable just by mixing different colors of wool.
Do you use a blending board at all to blend or not?
No, I just use my fingers.
I bet your wife has a blending board someplace.
I think she does. I think we do have some cards somewhere. I've just never been really. I'm only good at needle felting. I don't know how to do anything else. I'm not good at carding wool or anything like that. So I just use my my hands.
That's cool.
It seems I've tried a little bit of carding and it didn't seem to save me any time. So
Yeah, yeah.
I guess maybe I just need to get better at it.
I bought a blending board thinking, you know, this will do the trick for me. It's going to be easier. And at the end,
Yeah.
just pulling the foot.
Yeah. I just always go back to.
Yeah.
I just go back to using my hands.
You mentioned the store that closed, and unfortunately, that happened to a lot of stores. And I think it's up to artists like you to, you know, putting the legacy of working with wool, in your case, in a sculpting format, out there, because, you know, we should have more stores. It's fun that we can all go online and get stuff, but there's nothing like seeing the fiber right in front of you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't really tell what color it is looking online.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true.
And it's fun to walk through the store and yeah, just browse.
Yeah. You know, one of my secret desires now for a long time is to actually go to Austin and visit Living Felt, because just for seeing what they do and buying their stuff, I think, oh, it would be so cool to be right there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You
very
should go
cool.
take a class.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to be teaching. I'm actually going to be teaching the same class that I'm going to be teaching for you guys.
That's cool.
There this summer.
That's cool. Camille Opazo is saying, do you still break felting needles?
Yes, I just did today, actually. It happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it sucks because it was the last needle that I had of a specific gauge. So I just have to make do with a different one now. But yeah, it happens. For me, a lot of the time, mostly when I break needles now, it's like because I use one of these wooden handles to make it, you know, a little easier on my hands.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is if you drop that, it's, you know, it's kind of heavy, so it makes it much more likely that the needle will break if it lands on the tip. But yeah, if I'm making something that has a lot of wire, if like this guy has some pretty thick armature, because, you know, it needs to be pretty solid to support that much weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm making something with a lot of wire inside, then yeah.
You know, eventually one will
break. Pretty likely to break. Break
we have the
needle.
picture here of the cat that I want to show because they can't see on a close-up.
Yeah, the video quality isn't so great, I'm sure, on my phone.
But it's a gorgeous cat.
But yeah.
Very cool.
That's this guy.
So, Kiyoshi, I have one more comment here. Patti Palazzi. Oh, she's saying hi from Maryland. Okay. Do you have a website where people can see more of your work?
Yeah. My actual website is right now being updated, so hopefully that'll be done soon, maybe in the next week or so. But I do have my Instagram page, which is just Kiyoshi Mino Felt, and then my my blog, which you can just check out on the web. It's just kiyoshimino.blogspot.com.
Okay, and you have your YouTube channel where people can watch the chimpanzee video, right?
Right. You can look me up on YouTube as well. And
Awesome.
I have a couple more videos there. I have a tutorial video too, like just a beginner class on how to make a simple sloth.
Oh, cool.
And then I have a few more time lapse videos of me making the sparrow.
Okay.
My grandmother's sparrow, and then a lynx, Iberian lynx that I made a while back.
That's very cool. Kiyoshi, any final words for people that might be interested in start sculpting with wool?
Yeah. I say, I mean, everybody should try it at least once, because you might be like me, because I had no interest whatsoever in being an artist or in needle felting. I hadn't even heard of needle felting until I tried it, and I just immediately fell in love. So you never know.
That's very cool. And one last question before we go. Patty Palazzi is asking, can you give me any hints on how to make feathers?
Yeah, so feathers are actually pretty simple. You're just, I mean, there's probably easier ways to do it. Like, I think some people would just make like a sheet of felt and, and cut the shapes of the feathers out. I will just kind of take a little bit of wool and just kind of roll it into the general shape of a feather, just with my fingers, just to start with, and then put it on my little felting mat, and then just use the needle to just needle felt it into the precise shape that I want, and then you just kind of use the tip of the needle. This goes for it's just like you were making a two-dimensional design. You use the tip of the needle to sort of pull and push the fibers around on the surface of the mat, or whatever you're using, and until it makes the straight lines that you want, or the shapes that you want, and then poke the surface of it with the needle to secure the fibers in place. It'd be easier if I could show you, but like, yeah, it's so basically I just make each individual feather like that separately, like on the mat, just as if I was making just like a two-dimensional thing, and then I'll pick it up and put it on the wing or the bird. And then the wings actually have a little bit of an armature. They have one wire that goes the length of the wing, and then maybe 3 or 4 of the feathers have a armature wire sort of supporting it.
Very cool. I can actually, I can wait for April when you're going to be here. Thank you very much, Kiyoshi, for your time. I think you inspired a lot of people. And I mentioned April. April is when Kiyoshi will be at Curious Mondo giving a course. We are actually making a wild cat, correct? Yeah.
So I was thinking, I still am just trying to decide which specific cat I want to make. But I'm thinking either a cheetah or a clouded leopard. Both of those are very, I think they're just on the edge of being considered endangered. I think they both should be considered endangered. They're both have less than 10,000 remaining individuals, and their populations are decreasing, sadly. So either one of those, if anybody has preferences, let me know.
The poll is open.
Yeah.
For which wildcat we'll do.
That I'm considering.
Okay, cool. Kiyoshi will be at Curious Mondo on April, let me see, 29th, 30th, and May 1st. And the best way for you to...
I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. The best way for you is to go to curiousmondo.com and give us your name and email so you actually get the newsletters when we start promoting the class. If you haven't been to Curious Mondo, just know that when we are live, like right now, when we are live with the course, you can watch the course for free, okay? Kiyoshi, thank you so much for being here. It was really fun. And
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for being here and participating and leaving your comments. Remember, since this is a podcast, it stays wherever you're watching right now. So tell your friends about it. You see, just by introducing them to something new, like sculpting with wool, you might be sparkling that fire inside, like Kiyoshi, with one course that he saw, he said, okay, I can do this. And from there, he built a career. But not only that, it also creates awareness about animals and endangered species. A lot of good things here. So tell your friends to come watch, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.